Welcome! It is Halloween and I thought that I show you how you can make your very own Halloween pumpkin design. During the lectures, we will go through the basics of sculpting a pumpkin. Then when the base is done, we add eyes, nose and mouth to our pumpkin. You can make any pumpkin design with these techniques, so you don't need to make exactly what I make during the lectures. After that, in the bonus section I will show you how you can make your Halloween pumpkin model 3D printable and use it as a decoration in your home. I can't wait to see your own pumpkin design, what you will make during the course, so let's start it with the first lecture. Welcome in the first lecture. We will start to make our Halloween pumpkin. If you go to the right side on the simple brush, you need to select the sphere 3D, then drag it out on the canvas. That is the first thing you want to do. Then I suggest you to select the skin shade 4 material or any material what is works for you. It can be the basic material or the madcap gray material, it's your choice. Now we need to make it polymer 3D in order to sculpting on it. Okay, we want to dynamesh this sphere. After we made it polymer 3D, we can leave the resolution on the default 128. And now we want to use the DEM standard to make the baseline of the pumpkins. As you can see, it's not really cool. In order to make much better lines around the sphere, we want to use a symmetry function. Here you can see how I use the X symmetry. It is good, but it would be much better if we can use that around the sphere. So that's why we will turn on the radial symmetry. If you click on the R button below the X, we will have this result. As you can see, it is really nice looking and it's much easier to add symmetrical details around the 3D object. So we will select the Y symmetry beside the radial symmetry, and now we can start to make the lines for the sphere. In order to make smoother lines and make it more straight, in the stroke menu we need a function called the lazy mouse, and we can set the lazy radius around 35 or something like that. Okay, and now from the top we can start to make the basic shape of the pumpkin. Take your time to get the best result, what you like. Maybe you can adjust the radial count in the symmetry panel, and it will make you more points and more lines. It's your choice what kind of pumpkin you want to make. Some pumpkin has more lines, some pumpkins have a few lines only. So it's your choice what kind of pumpkin do you want to make. You can smooth it out a little bit to not have too hard lines. And now we can use that symmetry function with the clay builder brush, and we can build this sliced parts with that. All right. All the way to the bottom and to the top. Now I smooth it out a little bit. And I hold down the control and drag a rectangle to the canvas to reactivate the Dynamesh. And Dynamesh will calculate the geometry again for us. Sometimes I suggest you to do that if you made bigger editing on the object. Now with the move tool, we can adjust the base shape of the pumpkin. As you can see, if we're using the radial symmetry with the move brush, we can move completely radial symmetrical around the wall shape. So now I turn off the radial symmetry and turn on the X symmetry only. And now pull out these two sides only, because a pumpkin is not completely radial symmetrical. It has some different parts. So now I want to change the symmetry on that model. I want to rotate it 90 degrees because I want this part to be on the middle. I click on the mirror and weld below the geometry and modify topology. And with that, I will have a completely mirrored two sides. We will make that more asymmetrical later, but now I want to work with a completely symmetrical pumpkin. Okay, I suggest you to save your project or save it as a tool, as I did now. And now continue the detailing with the Damian standard brush. Okay, turn back the radial symmetry again. And now, with more softer strokes, add some more details to the surface of the pumpkin. I will change the material to basic because I will see the smaller details more easily. All right, all the way to the bottom and all the way to the top part. We will make the chunk of the top of the pumpkin. To do that, insert a cylinder, move it to the top. Oh, I turned on this pin icon accidentally. Okay, it's my mistake. So move it all the way to the top and make the chunk for this pumpkin. You can scale it up to make it more longer. And we can Dynamesh it. And turn on the radial symmetry. And now with the move brush, we can make this chunk to connected to the pumpkin more naturally. And if we calculate the Dynamesh again with the control and dragging on the canvas, we can do that all the way. Now I want to smooth the top part. With the radial symmetry, the smoothing is much faster. Okay. Alright, with the move brush, without symmetry, I make this kind of shape of the chunk. Move it from every side a little bit. Now with the inflate brush, I make it more thicker. Now I want to cut down the top part of that, so hold down the Ctrl Shift and click on the trim curve from the brush palette. Now if you hold down the Ctrl Shift, you can cut off the top part of that and Dynamash it again and a little bit smooth it out. Now the base of the chunk is done. I want to make it more longer. And go into the ZRemesher, change the value to 0.1 to the lowest, and click on the ZRemesher. With that we have more cleaner geometry, and if we click on the divide, we can add subdivision levels to that geometry, and we can add more smoother details. So with the Dam Standard brush again, we will make this type of details to that part. Alright, I soloed that out to have more control of it all the way around. If you hold down the Alt key while you draw these lines on this chunk, you will have an inverse, so it will be not goes into the geometry, it will draw a line on the geometry and pulls it out, not inwards. Oh, I overcomplicated it. So if you hold down the Alt, that will invert your brush. That's it. Try that out and you will see. And again, if you don't want to make this type of detailed chunk on your pumpkin, or you want to make a more stylized pumpkin, you don't need to follow every steps I make. You can leave it with a smooth surface. After I made that detail, I smooth it out to don't have too hard detail on it. And with the move brush, I make it a little bit less straight to the top. Okay, now with the clip curve, I clip the top of the chunk. I'm using the clip curve now instead of the trim curve because we have now subdivision levels, and the trim curve is only working on the objects which doesn't have any subdivision levels. So now I save this object. And now I want to ZRemesh the wall base pumpkin. Set the target polygon to the lowest. Click on the ZRemesher and waiting. Okay, turn on the symmetry, and if the symmetry is turned on, ZRemesher will make the topology symmetrical. I missed that. Now it's not the result what we want, so I think we'll need to set that to around 5 poly count. That 5 represents 5k, so it's around 5000 polygon. Alright, that's much better. I wanted to have these creases that base lines on the pumpkin, I add some subdivision levels to it, and with the Demian standard brush and with the radial symmetry active, I give back the details what I have lost during the Z-remesher process. All the way to the bottom and all the way to the top, I make these details. And again, if you don't want to make these details, you can leave the surface completely smooth. Okay, I smooth it out a little bit. And nearly we have the pumpkin done. But it is Halloween now, so we will make this pumpkin a mouth, an eye, and a nose to make some expression on it. Okay, so in this section, after we made the basic details of the pumpkin, and by the way, we are done with the basic pumpkin, we will start to make the eyes, mouth, nose to the pumpkin. We will change the symmetry only to the X, and while you hold down the control, we will drawing the shape of the eyes. Take your time to get the correct shaping of the eyes, what you like. You don't need to make the exact style what I make for this pumpkin. You can make angry pumpkin or a happy pumpkin or evil pumpkin, whatever. All right, we make the nose with that technique. And now if you hold on the Control and the Alt key, you can subtract the mask. So it's a kind of mask eraser, or yeah, so you invert the mask function again. As I said, the Alt key invert our brush. It is true for the mask too. So I try to make the nose more asymmetrical. Okay, now select the lasso tool inside the stroke menu below the brush, and I will make a happy pumpkin. So I will try to make that shape with symmetry is on. It's important in my case. And now with the freehand stroke, I will erase the mask on this section. Take your time on that because yeah, it takes time to get the right shape. Okay, now I erased that island, and with the lasso tool, while holding down the Alt, I can erase the part I don't need. Alright, I invert my mask by holding down the Control and click on the workspace or on the canvas. And I will drawing the teeth into the mask. Okay, so I change back to the freehand stroke and make a really small draw size. Oh, it's too small. Okay, around 8 draw size. And now I drawing the teeth shape into the mouth. Again, take your time. If you make this version 2, you can correct the edge of the teeth with the inverted mask. Alright, so you draw the outline of the teeth first, and after that you drawing the inside of that shape. I make it with symmetry, but if you want, you can make asymmetrical teeth to the pumpkin. Alright, I make 2 teeth on the middle and 1 on the bottom, I think. Yeah. Alright. Now I invert the mask, and we will use a function called extract under the subtool menu. Here, change the thickness to higher amount, and as you can see, with the extract, we have an other object which is extracted from the base of the pumpkin, and it don't has geometry inside. That's what we want. I think it's a little bit too thick, so I go back to the base and change the thickness of the extract to a lower amount and extract it again. Alright, and click on the accept. Now I delete the previous version and clear the mask, and there we go. We have our pumpkin. Okay, now with the move brush, we can make the smile of the pumpkin a little bit bigger and basically adjusting the basic shape overall. So now I will dynamesh it. Okay, we can go with around 800 resolution and click on the dynamesh. And now with the smooth brush, you can smooth out the eyes, the edges of the eyes, the edges of the nose. With the move brush, you can adjust them. And yeah, we can smoothing out to make much better shaping. We don't need too hard edges, so we can do it with the teeth of the pumpkin. Alright. Okay, with the radial symmetry again, we can add some more details around the pumpkin. And I suggest to save your project. You can save it to another version. In the case if we need to go back. This looks really cool. I like it. Okay, in this lecture I will show you how you can colorize your pumpkin model. First of all, I select the base of the pumpkin, and on the left side I change the color to some kind of pumpkin orange. And now it is just a preview of the color. I need to attach that color to the model. So I go up to the color menu and click on the fill object. Now if I change the color, it's not changing on that base because it is attached to that object. Now I select the chunk on the top of the pumpkin and change that to a darker green, and then click on the fill object again. Now that chunk got the color what I attached to that, and now it is colorized and ready for rendering. If you want, you can export that as an OBJ to KeyShot or any 3D program where you want to render it. OBJ will keeps the polypaint you attach to your model in Zbrush. Okay, in this bonus lecture, I will show you how you can make a 3D printable form of that pumpkin, and you can put a candle or something into it. So we want to make the top of the pumpkin removable. We use the slice curve, and as you can see, we didn't cut it off top part. The slice curve makes only another polygroup of that part. And now, if we select that with the Ctrl Shift with the select rectangle, and now click on the split hidden. Now that is another object in the subtool menu. And if you want to rotate it, you can see that it don't has two sides. Go down to the display menu on the right side, and here click on the double. Now you will see either side of that object, and now click on the close holes under the modified topology. Now the closed hole has another polygroup, so with the Ctrl Shift select rectangle selected, you can hide the top of that cap and mask out this part. Now clear the mask from the top, so basically invert the mask, and now with the move tool you can scale it down. You have this effect right now, and you want to boolean this object from the pumpkin. And with that, you will have the place where you can attach this part later. So now, as you can see, we need to duplicate that. We need a version of that which will subtracted from the pumpkin. So in the subtool menu, click on that subtraction mode. And now, if we click on the live boolean function on the left corner, on the top left corner, you will see that is subtracted from the pumpkin. As you can see, that has some glitches at the top. So in order to fix that, you need to make that subtracted version a little bit bigger than the original one. To do that, go down to the deformation menu while this subtraction cap selected, and add one inflate to that. As you can see, it is a little bit bigger than the original one, and the glitch is disappeared. Now this boolean is only a preview, so if you go down to the boolean menu, click on the make boolean mesh, and make sure that only the subtraction model and the pumpkin base is active and visible on the workspace. And if the operation is done, here on the tool menu, we will have another tool which will be the subtracted model. With the insert, you can insert that model and hide the others, what you had before. And as you can see, now this part is completely correct. Now with the smooth brush, you can smooth the edges of the two parts a little bit. It's not a problem if you have a little gap between the two parts, if you 3D print it. And I suggest you to lower the intensity of the smooth brush to around 20, or the point is to make it not too hard. And yeah, so we can have a little gap between the two objects. Now if it's done, we need to decimate this model, because that's, as you can see on the top, it's 3 million points. It's a lot of points and hard to handle it while printing. So save that tool, and now on the top in the Z plugin, you can set on the decimation master to have this model 500k points. It's a little bit longer operation, but it's really important. With a lot of million of points you can't handle in a 3D printing software or in any other software you want to bring that. Alright, so as you can see, we have now nearly 500,000 points. The topologies doesn't matter. We want to 3D print it, don't want to use in a game engine or something. And now we do that process with the chunk and with the top part too, but we need to merge them first because these are two separated objects right now. To do that, make these two visible only. And yeah, and now click on the make boolean mesh. Now we don't use the subtraction mode, we're using this merging mode. Now you can insert that boolean mesh, hide the others, and as you can see, if I smooth it out a little bit, these two objects merged. Now, as you can see, we have now 300,000, 400,000 points. It's not really much, so we can leave that on that case. Alright, and this is the two parts, what we want to 3D print and what we can 3D print. I suggest you to name that object, so that is the pumpkin base, and I name the other as pumpkin top. One more thing, with the trim curve, I make the bottom of the pumpkin base straight to stand really strongly on any surface when it's 3D printed. And now in the Z plugin under the 3D print hub, you can export it. Click on the size ratios update and select the size you want to export it or set yours. And now click on the selected and export to STL. It's really fast because they don't have too much points. So do that with the pumpkin top model too. Update size and now export to STL. So the two parts what we want to 3D print is exported, and now you can make your first very own Halloween decoration at home. Congratulations, and I can't wait to see your works.